Hello, welcome to Rennthusiast. This is episode 2 in my Porsche 996 ownership journey video series. I have indeed found a car through my want to buy video that I am interested in pursuing. I have put the car through a PPI. I will share with you guys what that PPI revealed. A couple weeks back, I published a video sharing with viewers like, hey, I'm looking for a 996. This is what I think I'm looking for. I would love to see any pre-market cars, off-market cars that are available. I tend to prefer to buy Porsches from people who are private sellers who have an example that they've been thinking about selling for whatever reason and that they haven't yet started to advertise actively online. Those are the types of cars I like to buy for a couple reasons. There's no competitive pressure when you have a rarer car, and this hasn't been the case with these 996s, but when you have, for example, a really cool 993 or a 964 or a later year G-body, when those listings are live, at least over the past couple of years, like on a PCA classifieds, for example, you have a lot of people pursuing those cars. Sellers are able to command premium prices, and it's just not the way that I like to buy. It's kind of like I don't want to buy on a bring a trailer auction either because there's just pressure. The video I published on this 996 search yielded probably 15 cars. There were a couple of categories that I'll share with you guys that these listings or these messages or these responses fell into. The non-listings, like just the messages I got on Instagram or in the comments, there was a whole group of people that are current 996 owners, and they are super excited about this particular model generation. It's a subculture within the Porsche culture. They were just really excited to see that somebody like myself with a YouTube channel will be publishing content on the 996. They're really excited to see the 996 get love. The 996, if you're watching this video, you probably know this, the 996 has long been a kind of a neglected or maligned generation of 911. So these kind of enthusiasts, these diehard fanatics are definitely very excited to see that people are paying attention to the 996. And so that was one category, just kind of enthusiastic messages and supportive messages. I got a couple of messages from people who are relatively nearby to me inviting me to come check out their 996. They were very kind, very supportive, and just say, hey, you know, if you want to come check my car out, would love for you to just take a look at it. You can drive it and just see what the ownership is going to be like. Another group of people were like, hey, you don't want to get into a naturally aspirated version of the 996. You really need to go with the turbo or the GT3. I know why people are saying this, right? Like the turbo motor is reportedly pretty bulletproof. It's a Metzger engine, and you aren't going to get into the IMS problems and the bore scoring problems that you're going to get into on the 3.4 and the 3.6. So as it relates to the turbo, all of that being said, I owned a 997.1 turbo. The car was a monster, so fast. And it's my understanding that the 996 turbo is effectively the same thing. And many people laughed at me for this reason that I sold the car, but it was just too fast to enjoy responsibly on the street. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a driver, I love going fast, but that thing was next level because it would go so fast, and it also was so capable that you would look down, you're going crazy handcuff speeds, and it felt under control. And so anyway, I'm just not interested in 996 turbo. I also don't want to get into that price point. As far as the 996 GT3, killer car. Like I want to own one of those, but like my intended use for this particular car is just not in line with what the GT3 offers. I drove a 997.1 GT3, and very, very cool car. Definitely a driver's car. I do think it's more track focused. It's better for people who are like big time track guys. That's just not me. I spent time on the track, and I prefer open road driving. Anyway, it's loud, it's rough, and so I haven't driven a 996 GT3, but I can imagine what it's like, and I've reviewed a lot of content, a lot of videos on the car, and I think at a certain point I want to own one, but just not right now. Passing on those, I appreciate those enthusiasts out there that were steering me away from the problematic 996s and trying to get me into a GT3 or a turbo. There were a couple of like what I'll call passive sellers. They watched my video. They also know that by watching my channel that that I spend money on my cars. I feel like they weren't super motivated to sell, but they were hitting me with a number that they couldn't refuse selling the car. And I won't get into those numbers, but it was a lot of money to put into a 996, all due respect to 996 fans out there. I got one particular car that I became very interested in. This was from a viewer, a longtime viewer of the channel. This is a man who just took delivery of his 992 Carrera T. He owns a 996 C4S, and so he's selling the C4S because he now has the T. This car is an '04 C4S Arctic on gray. It has the X51 package, it has Porsche Sport exhaust, it has Sport Techno wheels, and it has hardbacks. That's all the positive. Like, that car was $115,000 brand new, so it's loaded up. The downside or the bummer of this car is that it has 87,000 miles, which, you know, high miles are okay, especially for drivers, but I'm not super comfortable with the 996 yet to say, hey, look, you know, higher miles are okay. I don't know. With all the problems of these cars, like, it's definitely, that's a bummer. However, I decided to put that particular car into PPI. So I have paid for a pre-purchase inspection on that '04 C4S. In my next video, I'm going to take you guys through a very robust report. I was very impressed by the shop that did the PPI. I mean, they give you this like visual report, and they have findings and pictures and so forth, and I'm going to take you guys through that report in the next video. And then I'm going to let you know whether or not I decided to buy this particular C4S. The PPI results were a little bit troubling. It was not a perfect PPI, and so I'm just not totally sold on the car. If that car is the right one, I will take you guys on a trip with me to go deal with the seller, transact on the car. I'm going to share with you guys how much it cost. I already know what he's asking. Also, in this video series, whatever example I buy, I'm going to share with you guys what it cost me to sort it. As far as the C4S is concerned, like, I'm well aware that it's very, very different from the early cars that I was initially thinking that I wanted. It's all-wheel drive. I've shared with you guys on the channel before that all-wheel drive is not necessarily my favorite, so that's a consideration for me as I'm processing through my decision. That's where we are with this. If you're one of those 996 fanatics, I hope that you're intrigued to watch this journey play out. I'm definitely interested to see whether or not I like the 996. I've owned a lot of these generations. If you've seen the channel, you'll know that. And so I'm going to give you guys a transparent viewpoint of what it's like to find and buy and negotiate and sort and drive, probably ultimately sell a 996 on this channel. So I appreciate you watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like the video, do all the usual stuff that helps me get more visibility. I'll see you next time.